QVC taught an entire country how to buy something from a stranger talking directly into a camera. This month, the company that helped pioneer that idea finished going bankrupt. At the exact same moment that videos of strangers talking people into buying things are the fastest growing format in retail. So how does the company that helped pioneer the format lose to a version of its own idea? This is the hindsight. On July 15, 2026, a bankruptcy court signed off on the plan that decides what QVC gets to keep. The company's debt, about $6.6 billion, is being cut down to $1.325 billion. That's not a rounding error. That's roughly 80% of what QVC owed, simply gone. Here's what that number is not. It isn't proof the stores went dark, or the hosts went home, or the products stopped shipping. QVC keeps selling. What doesn't survive the plan is the ownership structure that built up around it. The old shareholders, wiped out when the company emerges. A restructuring like this doesn't happen over one bad quarter. It happens because for years the debt didn't shrink, even as the business underneath it did. A gap that eventually needs someone to admit out loud. Keep one thing in mind as we go. This isn't really a story about TikTok. It's a story about a balance sheet that got too big for the company holding it up. To understand how a 40-year-old TV retailer ends up here, you have to go back to the studio where the whole format began. QVC went on air in 1986, the brainchild of a retail executive named Joseph Segal, built on one idea: a host, a product, a phone number, and a clock counting down. Buy it now or watch someone else get it. The whole model ran on urgency by design. If the same host is still holding the same product 10 minutes from now, that's proof nobody wanted it. If it's already sold out, that's proof everybody did. It worked. QVC helped pioneer the live, personality-led shopping format, decades before anyone said the words creator economy. Over the next 3 decades, the company scaled the way retailers scale, through acquisitions. In 2015, its parent company, Liberty Interactive, agreed to spend $2.4 billion on an online-only retailer called Zulily, betting a second internet-native brand would extend the reach TV alone couldn't. 2 years later, under Liberty Interactive executives Greg Maffei and Mike George, the same company completed a buyout of the roughly 2/3 of HSN it didn't already own, folding a second shopping network into the family. The pitch, both times: scale, synergy, stronger brands, faster growth. Zulily didn't stick around to prove that pitch. It was later spun off, and under different owners, liquidated outright. A footnote most retellings of this story skip. By 2020, pandemic demand pushed the surviving combination to its all-time high, $11.47 billion in revenue. The very next year, that number already slipped to $11.35 billion. Small on its own, but the first year in this story where the number went down instead of up. Now, here's the part almost nobody focuses on. QVC didn't sit still after that peak. It didn't stay a cable-only business waiting to be disrupted. By 2025, according to the company's own filings, 66.9% of its core US revenue was coming through digital platforms, apps, streaming, social, the web. A year earlier, almost 9 in 10 new customers had already found QVC online first, not on Channel 58. So, by the time most people assume this story starts, QVC was already the thing people think TikTok replaced it with. Which raises the obvious question: if QVC had already made the jump, what went wrong? But here's the number that actually broke the company, and it isn't a TikTok number at all. QVC's digital platform revenue, the already digital part everyone assumes was the escape hatch, fell from $4.32 billion in 2023 to $3.97 billion in 2025. Total revenue at its core US business dropped from $7 billion to under $6 billion in that same window. The digital pivot wasn't a myth, it just wasn't growing. Imagine running a bakery where half of every dollar that crosses the counter has to go straight into an envelope for a loan you took out years ago. Before you've paid for flour, or rent, or a new oven. You can still be a good baker. You can still have loyal customers. You just don't have the cash left to reinvent the shop while you're feeding that envelope. That's what a debt load north of $6 billion does to a retailer trying to fund a live commerce transition at the same time its core audience is shrinking. Businesses call this debt service. The bakery just calls it, there's nothing left. Zoom out from just the digital slice to the whole company, and the shape gets starker. QVC Group's consolidated revenue fell to $9.23 billion in 2025, down more than $800 million in a single year, while total debt sat at $6.6 billion. That's not a company carrying comfortable leverage against a stable business. That's debt sized for a company that used to be meaningfully bigger than the one now paying it down. The write-downs told the same story on paper. QVC recorded major impairment charges against the value of its own brand names in this period. an accounting admission that the business on the balance sheet was worth less than everyone had been assuming. QVC's core shopper, nearly 3/4 of its customer base is women over 50, is not a group that vanishes overnight. But it is a group getting smaller, in a company that had bet its capital structure on a bigger one. None of this means the digital strategy was wrong. It means the company was trying to fund a genuine transformation with a balance sheet built for a business twice the size of the one still standing. A company carrying QVC's debt load doesn't get to grow its way out slowly. The interest payments come due on a fixed schedule, whether or not the pivot has started working yet. So the pivot wasn't the failure. The math around the pivot was. In October 2021, David Rawlinson II took over as CEO, and he did not run from the threat. QVC leaned into it hard. The company launched a storefront on TikTok Shop in 2024. By its own count, its TikTok following nearly tripled after launch. More than 74,000 creators featured QVC products that year. Internally, the strategy had a name: WIN, live, social, creator-driven commerce, built to look like the thing everyone assumed QVC couldn't do. It wasn't only TikTok. The same strategy pushed live selling further into QVC's own app and streaming platforms too, chasing the same creator-driven, algorithm-fed audience wherever it happened to be watching. And the numbers kept falling anyway. Core US revenue slid from $6.6 billion to $5.94 billion across 2024 and 2025. The company recorded major write-downs against the value of its own brands. Here's the uncomfortable part. This isn't a story where leadership refused to adapt. They adapted. It just wasn't enough, fast enough. Against a debt load that didn't care how many creators posted a QVC haul. Rawlinson didn't inherit a company that was ignoring the future. He inherited one that had already started building it and still couldn't outrun the debt fast enough for it to matter. On April 16, 2026, QVC Group and several US subsidiaries filed for Chapter 11, not as a surprise, but as a pre-packaged deal already agreed with the majority of its lenders before the filing hit a headline. On July 15th, the court confirmed the plan: debt down from $6.6 billion to $1.325 billion. Existing common and preferred shares canceled on emergence. Nobody forced QVC's leadership and lenders to make that trade. They chose it because keeping the old story alive, the one where the numbers were about to turn around, cost more than admitting the company was smaller than its debt assumed. And none of it happened as a scramble. Management and the majority of QVC's lenders had already signed the restructuring agreement before Chapter 11 became public. General unsecured creditors were set to be paid in full under its terms, and the company's operations outside the US weren't part of the case at all. This wasn't a company being liquidated. It was a company's owners agreeing in advance on exactly how much of the old story to keep and how much to let go. That's the part that isn't about TikTok, or live streaming, or any platform at all. Every company eventually reaches the moment where continuing to sound fine costs more than admitting you're not. QVC's owners had it easy, in one sense. A court forced the admission for them. Most companies don't get that push and keep performing the recovery long after everyone inside already knows it isn't true. QVC didn't lose to TikTok. It ran out of time to be right about itself. If this is the kind of story you come here for,